Alright, that was a gas stop. So this is Pearland, which is south of Houston. I just moved here recently, and I've found that the traffic is so harrowing that it might be fun to get a GoPro and record the traffic. Oh, we got a little fog here. Don't worry, that'll clear up. Anyways, usually I ride my motorcycle. It's slightly too cold. Totally doable, but whatever. So the traffic here does vary a lot. Anyway, and it's because of the accidents. So people here, I guess this is every city. It's the old song and dance. Everyone says people drive crazy in this city, but everybody says that about their city. So I lived in Oklahoma City for 3 years. It seemed like there wasn't quite as many accidents, to be honest. But the traffic still got pretty bad. On my motorcycle, and this is probably just me, I think it's kind of fun. But you don't see a lot of people on motorcycles around here. And, you know, that could be because it is truly just too dangerous for that. Bear with me for a second on this. My windshield, I don't really know why it's doing that. There we go. Let's see here. It's pretty humid outside today. It's kind of surprisingly warm. I know it just said it's too cold to ride a motorcycle, but it's funny. It was like 50 degrees earlier this week, and it's supposed to be 80 degrees like this weekend or something like that, which is absolutely bonkers. So I'll be riding my motorcycle this weekend, I guess is what I'm saying. Because of that humidity, and again, I just moved here, I cannot believe there's condensation just collecting on my windshield, and I don't even have the air on very cold in my car. So, all right. So again, going from Pearland to downtown Houston, I go to Barhaven events, which is Dungeons and Dragons, you know, like 2, 3, 4 times a week. So, which means I go downtown when a lot of people are leaving. And that's just been my hobby for the past like 2 months. So that's why I started doing these videos. I won't be recording the Dungeons and Dragons events, but you know what? That could be a good idea in the future. They're $10 a game, and if you, so many Dungeons and Dragons players, if you watch this, oh, public safety alert. Let's see what it is. Water boil notice. It's okay. I'll be drinking beer tonight. Anyways, that's probably just because of the rainfall or something. But if you're a Dungeons and Dragons player, leave a comment down below. I don't know how good the production quality would be at a game, because it's in a bar, and there's usually like 2 to sometimes there's 1 game depending on the size of the, like on Mondays, for example, it's a pretty slow night, but like tonight there's probably gonna be 3 games going. And anyways, but it's Barhaven. They have an Instagram, they have a Facebook. Right now they're just in Houston, but I could really see this taking off in any city, any major city. The hobby's gotten pretty huge. For those of you who are in the know, it's kind of had a renaissance. I'm probably going to be playing a cleric tonight, which I've never played. It just seems boring to be the heel bitch. But that'll be fun. I'm calling him Brother Haikyuu. He is, his like deity is gonna be yeast. So he's gonna have a reliquary. It's like a little bottle of yeast that is used to make beer and such. I got the idea from one of my friends at a game that I played with him about 4 or 5 years ago. He had a really fun monk character that did that whole bit, and I just think it's cool. Yeast is in all of us, and it just wants to help and heal you. You know, do that whole thing. Be obsessed with beer. He's a dwarf character, so that'll be cool. Anyways, back to the commute. This is what it looks like. The type of, and you know, I'm hoping that people that are interested in moving to Houston watch this, because you hear a lot of bad shit about it, but I don't know, I think it's fine. So this truck off to my right, this is the type of vehicles that you gotta be afraid of, because there's a lot of work debris that comes off of trucks and just fucks up vehicles, man. I actually saw a work van hit a hammer. The hammer shot off into the retaining wall on my left here. This happened right about here too. And then just blew his tire up, and luckily it did not shoot behind him and totally screwed my car up. So you see stuff like that all the time, like pieces of plywood, 2x4s, and the traffic. It's kind of like right now, I would never drive this close in Oklahoma City, but this is just so normal. I don't know. Let me know if you guys think I drive like a maniac. I'll open to feedback. Anyways, this is the first time I've done this without music, because I was just realizing copyright infringement with the music, man. But I kind of like to do self-talk anyways, talk in my head a lot. Just talking out loud now. But okay, so watching this episode of Dr. Phil with my mom before I left the house, and they were having like a town hall, and it was basically about, I don't understand why this was the topic, but it was about, I guess, people having kids, or maybe taking care of kids and the elderly, or maybe welfare. That's what the kind of stuff they're talking about, right? And two of the guys were black, and they were like the more conservative voices. One of them I recognize because he's that black preacher that has a podcast where he kind of shits all over liberal millennials, I guess. But his views are nuts, and at one point that guy said, I'll post his name if I can remember. Maybe I won't. It'll probably get bad attention. But anyways, he literally said, "White people, we need more white babies. White people need to have more children, because they have the best children," or something like that. Like, gee, holy crap! Like, he meant like statistically, but like it was kind of nuts to say. And it's like, okay, maybe, I mean, I have a lot of trashy white people in my family, and maybe I'm one of them, but come on, that's, why not have policies? And this is kind of, I guess this is what Dr. Phil was, because, you know, we need to have policies and measures that help people be successful. And I'm all about education. Like, I would absolutely, if some candidate, if that was the main thing they had to say was, we're gonna give this much more money for education, and this is my plan to fix it, that could be the only thing that guy ran on, and I would want to vote for that person. I mean, that's, I think, if you fix education, you can fix pretty much, I mean, it can be a root solution to most problems. I guess that's a way to say it. Not the root cause of problems, but like a root solution to a shitload of problems is just good education. And the way we do funding here in America is the root cause of a lot of education problems, because we fund the property taxes. And depending on how property taxes are calculated in a state, exempt. A good example, New Orleans is a good case study of a huge failure in education funding because the city councils, I think they are. I mean, I don't know if they're exactly city councils, but these officials, these elected officials, give exemptions to a massive amount, almost all of the big downtown corporations, and they don't. So since they're giving property tax exemptions for schools to these guys, they have terrible funding, and it makes no sense. Like at similar places, similar downtown areas will have amazing funding for their schools because you can charge a shitload of money for the type of land that a skyscraper goes on with property taxes. And why wouldn't you? And it's just bizarre. And it just kind of goes to show maybe we should be funding schools in a different way than property taxes. I don't know. It's definitely. So Google always has me exit right here, kind of the last minute. We're going on 288 north, and then there's always like a traffic jam. I don't know if you can see it up ahead, but it diverts me over here. But that's okay, because I was going to go through the city anyways, and this is just a quicker way to get into the city. But anyways, just so you know, I'm not really a political person, I guess you could say. Like, I don't identify with either party. I like policy discussions. So, and you know, part of this is like, here's Houston commute, but the other part is I'm just having a conversation with myself. So, education is one of those things where I like to talk policy, and I don't care if you're Democrat or Republican. Neither party seems to have like a good plank in when it comes to funding for education or education reform, because it's too much of a bear to fix, and really it's a local politics thing. If you look at the type of things that the past, so George W. Bush had no child left behind policy. It was a policy. There was some funding attached to it. Maybe it was a lot of funding. I don't know. I was very young when it came out, but it's been seen as a failure. And then President Obama had some reform. I don't really remember he did, guys, but he had some funding attached to that, but it wasn't enough, and that hasn't made a big difference because really most of the funding for our education system when it comes to K through 12 is locally funded, and most of the policies that affect these schools are local policies. So that's why I was talking about New Orleans instead of like the nation as a whole. You have to look at it as one city at a time. Sorry, I just stuttered there because it looked like someone was going to pull out in front of me. You gotta watch these guys. So anyways, the problem is most people are not very involved in their local politics until it's too late. So for example, my sister has some kids. They're about to be in the K through 12 system, and luckily she's in a pretty good zip code or school district, I guess it's called, and that's lucky. If she wasn't, then she would be kind of screwed, because you know, by the time you want your problem to be fixed, you would have had to vote for that person already. And so, I guess my point is, you should care now. I don't have kids, but it's definitely some education, something I care about. And the other problem is, when you fix the education system, you don't see the fruit of that as a taxpayer or as a government for it's like 20 years. You get results, and the results are in the workforce and in the amount of drug addicts you have. You know, that's all correlated with these good school systems. But it takes like 20 years. So comments, you think about. I'm kind of curious what people like to talk about that are on the same wavelength as me. Like, I like to talk about this. Some of the more complicated stuff is just too hard to talk about, like immigration. I don't know. I have some opinions on it. I'll get into that. I have some opinions on it, but it's just too complicated to have like definitive opinions. One thing, I think it's good and bad. So, for example, over half of new businesses in the United States of America, over half of new businesses, look at this guy, are started by immigrants. he walked away from my truck for some reason. I probably look as crazy as him because I'm talking to myself. So over half of new businesses in the United States are started by immigrants, because those are the guys or gals that let's go, it's kind of a stereotype, but own that gas station, and then they work there for like 16 hours a day. None of my 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th generation friends really have that hustle. I mean, I'm sure some of them do, but that type of hustle is people that come from a background that's a little bit more desperate, maybe, where the work ethic's different. And and a lot of immigrants of a certain culture, their kids are making the best grades. They're getting the best scores for college. They make good employees. That's all great. I think where it becomes bad is whenever you have, and I guess it's the difference between, is this person an economic refugee or not? Is there such thing as an economic refugee? It's kind of it's a category that we haven't heard until I didn't start hearing it until like this decade. Usually a refugee comes from like a war-torn nation, like Afghanistan. That just happened recently. Which, by the way, I helped integrate them. I got deployed to New Jersey. It sounds weird, but yeah, that happened. A bunch of Air Force employees, which I just got out of the military October 31st, but a bunch of Air Force employees got deployed to the East Coast, and that was last year to help the Afghanistan refugees. We made a place for them to sleep and integrate, and we organized their bus rides and stuff to get deeper into American culture. So some people went to Chicago, some people went to, I don't know, a rural place, like so. But these cities set up jobs for them and sponsors and all this stuff. They get a certain amount of money. Okay, well, that is how America's refugee system is supposed to be set up. We accept a refugee and they get sponsored and all this stuff happens, and they get integrated, and they don't just get thrown into a slum. And it's beautiful, but realistically we only do that for 10, 20,000 people a year. I think I could be totally off on that. The Afghanistan refugees, that because it was like 50,000 more people than we're used to, they actually deployed military forces to help sponsor them, and it wasn't for security, because they were actually allowed to just leave the base. So we did host them on a base, but they could just walk off the base because they weren't prisoners. And but if they did that, then they wouldn't get sponsors and go to town and have like a job set up for them, right? So they had a lot of incentive not to do that. Whenever people on the southern border walk across, and the federal government is not paying for the infrastructure that's necessary, the state government can't afford to do this, and the federal government won't. They say that they're for open borders and stuff, but if these people are actual economic refugees, why are we just like, they're just walking across and then they're just slumming it, right? No social security